My name is Alexander Wll. I've studied Slavonic studies, German studies and history at the Ludwig-Maximilians University in Munich. And after this I've worked at Regensburg University, also in Slavonic studies, and at Oxford University at the Faculty of Medieval and Modern Languages for Czech, Slovak and Russian. And after this I became professor at Greifswald University, in principle at that time the only place for Ukraine studies in Germany. And there I organized every year the Ukrainian summer school called UKRAINET.eu. And I added a second summer school, Polonicum, together also with Jewish studies and gender studies in a kind of comparative literature. That's to say, I'm from humanities, and today I'm working at Potsdam University at a chair of Central and Eastern European Studies. That's to say, I'm not only focused on Ukraine, but on entangled history of Ukrainian culture and literature. And before I went from Greifswald to Potsdam, I've been president of European University Viadrina at Frankfurt on the Oder River. And there I'm very happy that I was able to establish a professorship for entangled history of Ukraine. That is Andriy Partnov, who is working there. And then we were able to organize a Ukraine summer school, Viadrinicum, every year. And with the help of the Robert Bosch Foundation, a project called Ukraine Calling. That is a very practical project for NGOs who go to Ukraine with a concrete project. And at the very moment, I'm a member of a new initiative of the Bundesministerium für Wissenschaft und Forschung that's called European Times. I'm doing this project together with Andriy Partnov and Annette Werberger. That's to say, that's a co-production of University of Potsdam and Viadrina. And my postdoc is Bohdan Tokarski, who is coming from Rory Finnan from Cambridge Ukraine Studies. And it's about Ukraine in European context, to say it like this. And next year will be a big conference on minor literatures and with a very special focus on Ukraine. And till today we cooperate with great success with the Harvard Ukrainian Research Institute, Serhii Plokhy, who is a brilliant scholar there, but also with Toronto and Alberta, Alex Averbuch, who is working there. And in Ukraine, with Andriy Partnov, we have good relations to Dnipro, to Tkuma Center for Holocaust Studies there, but also with the Mohyla Academy. Andriy Melishevich, so my colleague there, is a good friend of mine. And at Mohyla Academy we also cooperate with the Center for Visual Studies with Vasil Cherepanin, who is now independent from Mohyla Academy. And then we have good connections to the Catholic University in Lviv, Hrytsak first of all, but also to Ivan Franko University. And now we start a new project with Yuri Fitkovich University in Chernivtsi and the Herder Forschungsrat with my colleague Steffen Höhne. That's a project on literature and culture of Bukovina, so entangled history and culture. There is from Freie University Julia Dondorici, that's one of the two professors for Roman studies, as a Romanistic member. And also specialists from German, Polish, Russian, Ottoman literature, and Roman studies. That's a project also connected with Jewish studies. There is a big friend and cooperation partner is Leonid Finberg at Center Judaica at Mohyla Academy, and Mykola Kushnir in Chernivtsi from the Jewish Museum. And then we are very close to the Jewish community in Dsseldorf. Herbert Rubinstein, who is born there, is very engaged, and Düsseldorf perhaps will become partner town of Czernivtsi. And Düsseldorf is very active, engaged in the planned museum for the Shoah there. This is the biggest project of museums in Western Ukraine. And it's of course connected with the Babin Yar controversial at the very moment. That's also one aspect. And Natasha Gordinsky from Haifa University, who is doing comparative literature there, who is born in Kharkiv, is also a member of our project team for Bukovina and also for this project together with the Jewish community in Düsseldorf. And then I can add that from 2008 I'm president of the German Association of Ukraine Studies. That's first of all an association from scholars from humanities. Special focus is on history, and we have always one annual conference. Andreas Kappeler, Professor Simon from Köln, and so there is the focus on literature, history, sociology, let's say social studies and humanities. We are not so much focused on science or on natural sciences. It's a big tradition. The association is now, I think, or maybe mostly 20 years old. And I think it's very important to connect the people in Germany who are doing Ukraine studies, because Ukraine studies is, of course, a small subject, as we call it, or we call it minor subject or little subject. That's to say, it's very important to bring people together who are working on this field, because even inside Slavonic studies, mostly it's only a development of the last 20 to 30 years that Ukraine studies are established as such. I mean, there was always Dmytro Czyżewski in former times, who is a big ideal of me with his comparative literature history of all Slavonic countries in a comparative perspective. But otherwise, there was Alexa Horbac in Frankfurt, but it was really very, very small. And I'm trying to do my best to establish Ukraine studies at more places in Germany. So it's now in Greifswald, Frankfurt Oder, Potsdam. And the good thing is that even the language classes are becoming a little bit more. I was able to establish Ukraine language instruction at Viadrina at Frankfurt Oder. It's traditional also in Greifswald, in Munich, in Göttingen, and at Regensburg in a certain way, and in other places. And it's, I think, very important to focus also on the language, because today, from a concept of area studies, often people think that you can do all science in English. But if you're in humanities, I think it's very crucial to learn Ukraine language. That's very important. Of course, the problem is that you also should be able then to do a little bit Rusin in the Karpat region, and you should be able to do a little bit of Yiddish and a little bit of Ivrit and a little bit of Turkish and a little bit of Polish and German and Russian, because the fascinating topic of Ukraine is the hybridity and the big culture, all these cultures coming together in Ukraine. That's why I'm so much fascinated by the culture, by the place. I love it very much, and I only hope that we will be able to establish Ukraine studies more stable and bigger and with more people than at the very moment. That's a big issue, but I hope that also this conference where we are participating is one step into this direction.